Shalom and good day, brothers and sisters. I have an urgent announcement and message to bring unto you. For the Father wants you to know this. He wants you to know what is the biblical date, what is the time of where we are at now. And some of you are asking why it's so important for us to know the biblical date. And it falls aligned with the Messiah instruction, Yahusha HaMashiach. For he told us to what? Watch and pray so we won't be caught off guard when he comes to gather us. For we now know and understand we are in the wheat harvest. For those who do not understand what the wheat harvest represent, there is several videos on the channel, and one is especially channel dealing with understanding why the wheat is ripened in summertime. Which brings me to this. When you understand the old marriage, the old covenant, then you will understand the renewed covenant that most people call the New Testament, that you will understand what the Messiah is saying. You will understand the biblical prophecies. Because if you don't study your foundation, which is the old covenant, then you will not know and understand the renewed covenant, the renewed marriage. And it's so important to keep a memorial or a remembrance of the holy feast days. Passover, that go in hand with the Feast of Unleavened Bread. We call it Peshat. Then we have Pentecost, that's in the Greek tongue, but we call it Shavuot, for it's a twofold holy festival. So that festival remembers the 7 weeks and it remembers the 40 days. And that festival was renewed with my ancestor, Moshe. And then thirdly, we have the Feast of Tabernacles, known as the Feast of Sukkot. When you read the forefathers' testimonies from Adam and going right down to Jacob and his 12 sons, when you read their testimonies, you will learn that a lot of them kept these same holy feast days. And these feast days comes from heaven above. When you understand what these feast days represent, then you will understand the biblical prophecies that pertain to the bride of the Messiah, to the 144,000 Israelites, to the house of Israel, and to the house of Judah. So this is why it's so important that you know the biblical date. For we have been educated, we have been Romanized, we have been Americanized, we have been Westernized by the heathens, by their calendar. And because we only have knowledge of the heathen calendar, we do not understand or do not have knowledge where these biblical events take place. For now it's time for us to have the mind of Yah, the mind of Yahuwah, the El, the Most High. For he is the God above all gods. And he is our King. And he is our Father, who sent his Son, Yahusha HaMashiach, to save us and to redeem us and to make us perfect. That means upright. So I have talked enough now, so let us get started. So what you see before you is a picture. They have symbols giving you an idea of what is a part of the timeline. But the part here is looking at the hourglass. And that's a video I share with y'all that's on the community page where the sister saw the hourglass and she says we don't have much time. And for those who don't know Bible or understand the Bible, she is correct. For the Father has assigned his servants, such as me and many others, to be watchers, meaning that we're paying attention to the signs of the times. For he has given us his heavens, and in his heavens are three lights, and those three lights work together to form one calendar, giving us understanding of the date and of the time, but doing it in his ways, according to our Father's thoughts. So now let us begin. First, I need to get this out the way, for I will be sharing some copyright material with you. I do want to announce to y'all on the channel, it's very important that y'all either read about this in the Bible or you can watch the video. The Apostle Paul also gave a future prophecy that pertains to the last days. It is very important that you read about it. That's in 1 Corinthians chapter 15, or you can watch the video. For the video title is 1 Corinthians 15, Future Prophecy, The Last Enemy, All Under His Feet, The Sting of Death. The Sting of Death. Another important video to understand, there's many prophecies in the Old Covenant, starting from Genesis, going all the way to the Apocrypha, that has not been fulfilled, my brothers and sisters. And one of these are this. In the fourth generation, the iniquities of the Amorites is not yet full. You will find that in the video under the playlist series, Egypt and Babylon. And that video is part 3. Father is revealing the mysteries unto us, giving us understanding, brothers and sisters. For he reveals his mysteries through his prophets, through his prophets. And I am one of his servants. I am a prophetess of Yah. My name is Sister Yitia, and Yitia means Yah with me. In layman terms today, in the English tongue, they would say God with me. But that's what it means. So my Father in heaven has been walking with me, keeping me safe from all danger, harm, and evil, leading and guiding me, and revealing mysteries unto me, so it can be shared unto his people, his children. Okay? And this goes for Israelites and Gentiles, males and females, bond and free, circumcised and uncircumcised. Okay? So the title of this very important announcement is, and this will be part 1. Many other videos will follow, because the amount of information that the Father has given unto me to share unto you will be so long. So today I'm giving you the highlight of the timeline. Okay. So this is part 1 of YAH timeline, Enoch 10-week prophecy, and the date of where we are at now. Okay. Take this time now to pause your screen, for I will be sharing some copyright materials with you. For federal law allows citizens to reproduce, distribute, or exhibit portions of copyright motion pictures, videotapes, or video discs under certain circumstances without authorization of the copyright holder. This infringement of copyright is called fair use, and is allowed for purposes of criticism, news, reporting, teaching, and parody. Okay. Also, I share with you about the law that's in the United States of America government, Public Law 97-280. For the King James Bible, the Holy Bible, is the Word of God. Okay. Now let's get into it. So I showed you the timeline just to give you an idea, because if you are watching and praying, you will know there's not much time left in this hourglass. Based on the signs we see in the heavens and earth, based on certain biblical prophecies coming to pass, such as in Romans 11, Paul let us know that the fulfillment or the fullness of the Gentiles is when they are to receive the gospel. And that fulfillment now has come to pass. And how we know because the children of Israel, who the world today call the Jews, are waking up out of their sleep. And we can see evidence of that today, especially in the country known as America. For they are announcing to the world they are not black, they are not of the tribe Crayola, for their nation is Israel, and they are Israelites. And we are seeing how that is blowing up. It is not. It is non-stopping. So Romans chapter 11 is being fulfilled right before our eyes. Just as our Father has mercy upon the Gentile, he will have that same mercy upon the Israelites. For as prophesied by his prophets, that he too will cleanse them and sanctify them, and he will give them a new spirit and a new heart. So this is why it's so important, and I speak unto my Christians, brothers and sisters, that you need to learn the biblical prophecies that also pertain to Israel, because many are missing that most significant sign, how he will awaken them out of their sleep, out of their slumber. Okay? So that will confirm what the Messiah prophesies unto us about the fullness of the Gentiles. And we also see that the Messiah prophesies how the Israelites, who are Jews, will be dispersed into all nations. And we can find a remnant of them or a certain amount of them throughout these nations that the beasts try to hide in their news. But for those who travel throughout the four corners of the earth, know what I'm talking about. You can find the children of Israel. And they bear the same thing as their father Adam. For Adam comes from the ground known as Adamah, and it means the ground was reddish brown. Okay. All right. So now let us get to the scriptures. For you probably saying, why is it so important for us to watch and pray? And I'm going to read just a couple of scriptures, but I'm going to go to the one that the Messiah told us to do in Matthew chapter 26. But let me first read Mark chapter 13, verse 33, so you can go back in time and read the whole chapter. It says, "Take ye heed, watch and pray, for ye know not when the time is." So this is why we should be watching and praying, because the Messiah prophesies unto us that we would know the season, but we would not know the day nor the hour of his coming. Okay, so you don't want to be caught off guard. In Mark chapter 14, verse 38, it also says, "Watch ye and pray, lest ye enter into temptation. The spirit truly is ready, but the flesh is weak." So when you understand about the flesh, because Paul gives you a deep insight about the flesh when we have read the letter known as the Epistle to the Romans. On the channel, there's a playlist series that goes in depth, breaking down the letter that Paul wrote to the Romans. So what the Father is saying, that your spirit, that means your soul that's adjoined to the Spirit of God, which is the living word, which is Yahusha HaMashiach, the Messiah, is willing, but your flesh war against the Spirit of God. So you constantly have to seek our Father, seek his face to give you strength to overcome your flesh. And how we overcome the flesh is by receiving his salvation, which is the renewed covenant. And the Spirit of God in you, which is your spirit man, will help you to overcome the flesh. He will lead you and guide you and give you instruction to on how to overcome the flesh and how to live a holy life, a set apart life, following our Father's instructions. Okay. Okay, so it's a constant battle daily that we have with this flesh. But how we can overcome the flesh, you must receive the salvation and the righteousness of Yah, which is Yahusha HaMashiach. Follow the instructions in Romans chapter 10 and be baptized of water and of the Spirit. Now, I'm going to skip Matthew 26 because we're going to go to that chapter. Okay. But let's go to Luke chapter 21. It says, watch ye therefore and pray always that ye may be accompted worthy to escape. Underline that. So the Messiah is saying this himself, that ye may be accompted worthy to escape all these things that shall come to pass. What does Messiah talk about? We know that the last anti-Messiah is to come. And if you want to escape that, which is revealed in Romans, not Romans, but this which is revealed in Revelation chapter 12, if you want to be of that escape, going to the wilderness, whether it's of the heavens or of the earth, then you have to be ready. Okay. Remember, the saints who are the bride in the 144, they will go to paradise. But the house of Israel and the house of Judah, those are called by his name, they would go to the wilderness of the earth, and there he would sanctify them, give them a new heart and new spirit, and then he would bring them into the Holy Land. And they would dwell in a place that has no walls, for he is their protector. He would be a cloud by day and a fire by night. This is why it's so important to walk in the whole vibe of the book, whether you are Israelites or whether you are Christians or whether you are Gentiles. Do you see? You got to put the pieces of the puzzle together. So it goes on to say that ye may be accounted worthy to escape all these things that shall come to pass, and to stand before the Son of Man, or to stand before the Son of Adam. And who is the Son of Adam? Yahusha HaMashiach, the Messiah, the Son of God. You want to underline that verse and go back and read it. Because many don't believe that there will be an escape provided for those who have been faithful and true, and those who have, those who have been faithful and true and who have graduated from the tribulation that we are in now. That the Messiah talks about in John chapter 16, verse 32. Okay? Remember, the Father is going to reward you based on what? Your faith, what you believe. Based on your faith, based on your work, and based on your heart. And the heart that I'm talking about is your soul and what spirit your soul is joined to. Because there is where evil or good things manifest before it's shown in the physical. That's what he's talking about. He knows your heart, meaning that he knows your thoughts and he knows your attention. He's looking at the belly, the bowels, which is the heart of the body, and he's looking at your soul and what spirit you are joined to, married to, or in covenant to, or listening to. Okay, now let's go to Matthew chapter 26. Matthew chapter 26, verse 41. It said, watch and pray that ye enter not into temptation. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak. Again, our blessed Messiah is warning us. This is why we got to constantly work on ourselves every day, because our spirit is willing. Do you hear it? The heart is willing, but the flesh, this body, what the covering, right, goes against the spirit. Okay. Very important. Let's see here. Okay, that was further down. Okay, that's talking about his temple. I think it's in Matthew 24. Let me go to Matthew 24. This is why the Messiah give you all these parables, so you can understand the biblical prophecy, so you can understand about the three harvests. The first harvest has passed, and now we are in the wheat harvest. Okay? Very important. Oh, yeah, this is 24. Let me go down. So it starts in verse 32. He says, now learn a parable of the fig tree, which is when his branch is yet tender. So we are what? The branches, right? And put forth leaves. Ye know that summer is nigh. So just as we studied the Father calendar, and I was teaching unto y'all about the seasons, And we know that in certain seasons, certain things are ripened. So when we get to summertime, the Messiah is giving us an example or a parable dealing with the fig tree. So when we know that summer is near, that's when the fig tree and its branches is tender and will start to put forth leaves, letting you know summer is near. And this going hand with the wheat harvest, for we know wheat only ripens in summer times. So we're getting close to that now. We're getting close to the wheat that is ripened and ready for harvest. Now, the wheat that is not ripened and ready for harvest, they're going to be left behind to face the beasts, the eight that come out the seven, the anti-Messiah. Okay? So this is what the Messiah said, that we're going to know when summer is near. We're going to know when the wheat harvest is near. So likewise, when ye shall see all these things, know that it is near, even at the doors. Again, he's stressing us how close we are to the Exodus, how close we are to the taking. In the Greek tongue, they say paralambano, how close we are to the harvest. Verily I say unto you, this generation shall not pass till all things be fulfilled. So we know we are in the fourth generation. For Zion has fulfilled the affliction, the 400-year prophecy that was prophesied in Genesis chapter 15. For America acknowledged that, quote unquote, blacks, quote unquote, African Americans, has been in America for 400 years. And while we have been here in America for 400 years, we have been afflicted. But the judgment of YAH has now been popping off since 2019 AD. For those who have been watching and praying. Oh, we see it. We see the handwriting on the wall. We see the signs in the heavens as well in the earth. Why do you think the Father is revealing all the evils or adosters, or I can't say that word, or all the transplants that we see in Hollywood, in the music industry, in the modern industry, in the news industry, in the governments? Oh yeah, he's revealing all of that to let you know that the Bible is real and the Bible is true, and history will also line up with the Bible when the heathens speak the truth and allow the truth to come forth. Okay? Remember, they're following Satan. Okay? Heathens listen to their father Satan. So they're going to hide a lot of truth. But our Father is bringing the truth out, letting his people, letting the sons and daughters of Adam know that the Bible is real and that it is the Word of God. And the books that the heathens remove, such as Enoch, will confirm and give you understanding about these last days. For he is the prophet of the last days. He has the history of the beginning and what is yet to come. Okay? Definitely want to read Enoch chapter first Enoch, second Enoch, and third Enoch. Okay? Verse 34, verily I say unto you, this generation shall not pass till all these things be fulfilled. Heaven and earth shall pass away, but my words shall not pass away. So we know in the future prophecy, the Father is going to make a new heaven and he's going to make a new earth. And how he's going to do that is with fire. The first judgment or the first end was what? The flood, cleansing the earth. The same as with the earth was with us. Was we not cleansed by water for those who receive the renewed covenant? And are we not baptized by fire, which is the Holy Spirit? What the same is with the earth. Do y'all see the analogies? Do you see the parable? So a cleansing has to take place. So fire will remove the impurities in the earth and it will make it anew. That's the same thing with us with the Holy Spirit baptism. The Holy Spirit baptism is like fire. It will remove the impurities that is in your heart and make you anew. You will be a new creature. Then you begin to understand the writings of Paul. All right. So this is why it's so important that you should be watching and praying. Now that we have gotten that out the way, let me go back to my screen. Please definitely read Luke chapter 21, because Luke 21 from the Messiah on mouth is confirming unto you there is a way of escape. for what is coming upon the earth. And the reason why that tribulation is coming upon the earth for the weak that's not right, because they did not graduate the first time, they have to go through it again. So when we get to the third harvest, which is the Feast of Tabernacle, that represent the last gathering of all. Okay? The last gathering of all. This is why the prophet Isaiah prophesied to us that the Father would send his hand a second time to gather the children of Israel, because they didn't graduate in the first trial and tribulation. Do y'all see it? All right, let us begin. So this is the timeline that the Father has given unto me to share unto you. And it's very important that we go over this so you can understand where we are at. Okay? For those who have been following along with me, you know now that he's been giving us more information so we can get the biblical date and the heathen date, where we can get either on it, dead on it, or close to it so you can get an idea. Father, also want to remind you that in the past, when I was teaching the calendar, I was showing you how the Jews of Ethiopia was keeping up with time, and Brother Hashur was keeping up with time, and myself. So we all agree that we are in the 7,000 some years. And the Father want me to let you know, despite what the heathen do, and despite what Satan do, remember Satan's their father, okay? They tried to remove the truth and hide the truth from us because they did not want us to believe or to know that the Bible is real and true and that the Bible line up to history. So they manipulated some of the numbers. However, our Father is the Most High. He's more wiser than them. So he left us clues not only in the 1611, but in the work of Josephus, in Enoch's writings, the first and second, third. He left us other clues in other sacred books. And when we start putting all this together, it is a way to narrow it down to know where we are truly at. So let's go over this right quick so you can understand where we are at. And the Father said, I need to start here first. Let me start here. Because most of you are probably asking yourselves where we're at now, according to our Father's timeline. Okay? So according to our Father's timeline, we are in the 7,492 year of Adam. And when I convert that to the Gentiles' time, which is the Roman time, because we are in the fourth beast kingdom, this is the Roman Empire. This is why we follow the Gregorian calendar, which is the Roman calendar. We are in the 2024 AD year. Now, I'm going to have to say this. As for Hebrew, because we follow the Father calendar, we know 2024 AD will overlap to 2025 AD. Okay? Remember, we follow our Father's calendar. That's why they do so many things backwards and opposite of our Father's calendar. Such as our Father's calendar starts with daylight, but the heathen's calendar start with midnight, darkness. Again, they are the children of Satan. So this is where we're at now. So what that means unto us. So when we look at our Father's timeline, and we know 1,000 years equals a day unto Yah. So a day unto Yah, we are in day 13. Day 13. Because 7,492 years from Adam, when we convert it into Abba time, it lands closely in between the 7,000 first year to the 8,000 year of Adam. So we're almost halfway there. And when we convert that to a shorter period of time, because our Father's on a larger scale, it would be day 8 of Adam. So we're about halfway in day 8 of Adam, which is day 13 of creation. Another thing the Father needs for you to understand, because there is a biblical prophecy that pertains to the 7th day. But the 7th day is not based on Adam's time, which is 24 hours, but it's based on our Father's time. And I, in the past, have produced evidence of it, which we shall talk about it again in this playlist series, but I want to keep this video short. So that is very important for us to know. So we will be going over the 7-day prophecy in another part. I have some witnesses. And even the synagogue of Satan will bear witness of this 7-day prophecy. They know about it too. Okay? So, to understand our Father's week, we know in his week, he has 7 days, just as we have 7 days in our week. When you look at the formula that was given to the prophet Ezekiel in I think it's chapter 43 or chapter 46, but I want to say it's chapter 43. So for YAH week, his week begins in day 1 and it ends in the 7,000 year. Do y'all hear that? YAH week begins in day 1 and end in the 7,000 week. Okay? Or you can say the first year. It begins in the first year of YAH and end in the 7,000 year when we look at creation. So this is why you see me laboring these years as day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, day 6. And when we get to day 7, we say Sabbath. And in my Hebraic Bible, it would say Sabbathoth, letting you know it has been a complete week. And in that week, on day 6 of YAH, which is within the 5,000 first year to the 6,000 year of creation, that's when he created Adam. Okay? He was created in the first year of day 6 of YAH. In the first year, which is dated the 5,000 first year. Take this time to pause the screen so you can understand what I'm saying. I'm in this column here. Okay? Very important for us to know. So when we get in week 2, this is where we at, brothers and sisters. We are in week 2. For I just told you that we are in day 13 of YAH, which is day 8 of Adam. And you can see on your screen that that time period falls in the 12,000 first year of creation to the 13,000 years. So we are in increments of 1,000. And that's the same thing with day 8. It falls in the 7,000 first year and it ends in the 8,000 year. We are in increments of 1,000. Take this time to pause your screen. It's very important that you understand this, because then you understand the 7-day prophecy. Now, when we get to week 3 represents eternity, what is yet to come. That would be forever. So the beginning of week 3 is day 15 of YAH, which is day 10 of Adam. And for creation, it begins in the 4,000 and first year and end in the 15,000 year. In days of Adam, it begins in the 9,000 first year to the 10,000 year. Now you see why it's so important that we know where we at. Okay? Then you begin to understand Enoch 10-week prophecy. Now, I do want to announce to you, of course, there were some errors in the first things that I share with y'all in the timeline. Because when you're reading the Holy Word, what I learned about our Father in heaven, he writes the numbers or the mathematical equation as word problems. And you have to take your time and meditate on it. So the Father knew that I needed some help, and I shared with y'all in the past how they found the Pharaoh who was in the time of Exodus, and that Pharaoh name is Ahmose the First. Ahmose the First. So when we get to part 2, I'm going to reveal some information that I found by Ahmose the First Not dealing with a video, but giving you more insight about the dates. Okay? But we do know Ahmose the first was the Pharaoh in the days of the Exodus, based on the archaeology evidence they have found. And that helped me out so greatly, brothers and sisters, because now I have an estimated date of the Exodus. And it makes sense. Okay? So we'll start with week 1 of Enoch 10-week prophecy. And I did bring up Enoch writings on the 10-week prophecy and disregard some errors because it has not been updated. Okay? So let's get to the sentence of where it all begins. So when the father was having me to update this, he always tell me, write it out. I said, okay. I wrote it out. We are going to, for those who want to know where I'm getting this from, this is from First Enoch chapter 91. Let me see here. And then the last 3 weeks are in chapter 91, 12 through 17, depending on what version you're using, or you can find it in 91:12 dot hyphen 17. You also can find it in First Enoch chapter 92, verse 1 through 5, and First Enoch chapter 93, verse 1 through 14, depending, like I said, what version you're using when you're reading the writings of Enoch to get the 10-week prophecy. So take this time now to pause your screen and write that down. And you can find this in Sacred Text. Sacred Text is free unto you, where you can pull up the writings of Enoch for those who don't have a copy of First Enoch. So when we look at where it all began, in verse 3 of First Enoch chapter 93, it says this: And Enoch began to account from the books and said, I was born the 7th in the first week, while judgment and righteousness in still endure. Forgive my stuttering, brothers and sisters. Sometimes my speech impediment want to show itself up. But here, I realized the Father was saying something deep. What I learned about the number 7, because I was doing, the Father had me to share you about the mystery of Shavuot, or the mystery of Pentecost. And that video is on the timeline. I learned what 7 means, such as it represents perfection, sanctification, holiness, but also to be what? To be clean, to be rid of any defilement, to be rid of sin and transgression. So Enoch is saying a lot here. Notice that he was the 7th head of the 22 heads that the Father has set over each generation. And what the Father was letting me know, that he was born in the 7th day, which makes sense when I got more information about the years, getting his estimated year of birth. So he was born in the 7th day, which is the Sabbath day. And when you go back to Genesis 22, you will learn that 7 represents sanctification, to be cleansed. And how I know this is true for those who study to show thyself approved. When he had the one named, I think, Nahum, who had leprosy, to dip himself, I think, 7 times in the water. And then he had the woman child who died, that Elisha brought back to life. He had the child to sneeze 7 times. When I was studying about that, I learned that the reason why he had to do that is to represent how you would be clean. When you come up that 7th time, how you would be clean, how you be holy, set apart, sanctified to him, meaning that you are pure, no defilement is in you. You're not contaminated. And you are holy. You are upright. Do y'all see that? So this tells me a lot. And we also know that these forefathers, the righteous lineage such as Enoch, they was in a time where judgment and righteousness still endure. So, in other words, things did not get too bad. Okay. So when I was reading this scripture right here, it is a scripture because Enoch was a part of the Holy Bible before the heathens starting to take these things out. And how I know the heathen use Enoch formulas for their calendar and even for farming. Oh yes, pick up the book of Almanac. You get an idea where they got this information from. But anyway, so now that the Father has given me understanding that, so when I got the new calculation of when Enoch was born, he was born in the 1122nd day. So as I was getting these dates, these biblical dates, and I said biblical dates, it's very different from what we see how the heathens date things. Okay? Very different. I'm gonna bring this up just a little bit, y'all. Okay. So when I start pinpointing the date, I notice a pattern. Either they happen before the halfway mark, and the halfway mark is that I'm talking about what is the number that comes in between 1,000 to 2,000. Okay. What is that number? Okay. That comes between 1,000 and to 2,000. And I probably need to change the color of these borderlines here to really bring it out. And that would be 1,500. So I noticed that these dates, it was either happened before the halfway mark or after the halfway mark. So the Father was letting me know I had the right concept. Well, based on the information I have at hand, the concept of 1,000 years was correct, but it made sense that I should start it closer to the time of Enoch and not to the time of Adam. Because when we read Enoch 10-week prophecy, it started off with him. I said, okay, this is making sense. All right. So I had the first week of Enoch prophecies to start around 500 to 1499. And that would be 1,000 years. And in that time, 1,122 falls in that timeline. Okay. Now, another thing the Father want me to explain to you, you're probably wondering how, okay, when we deal with BC, how did I get my BC date? Well, for those who read the second writings, we see the number 5,500 being revealed unto us into several writings, such as with the testimony of first Adam and Eve or second Adam and Eve, also in the testimony of Enoch, also in the testimony of Nicodemus writing known as the Acts of Pontius Pilate, and some other sources. So I have seen this number that Sister Cassandra has shared with us. Well, she shared with me about it, and this was the one of the breakers to help us to know where we at. So the Father helped me to find information when the Messiah was crucified and resurrected, and that's how I was able to line up these biblical dates with the dates of the Romans. Okay. So I knew that 5,500 was the year when the Messiah was crucified and resurrected. And based on the information I have at hand at this time, I have it to land in 32 AD. Okay, so keep in mind our Father year began from 32 AD to 33 AD. All right, so that's how I was able to calculate these numbers. So when Enoch was born, he was born in the 4346 BC year. I had to say it like that. 4346 BC year. And this is how I was able to calculate when Adam was created. So Adam was born in the 5468 BC year, which is the first year of Adam. Okay. Anybody saying, well, why it don't represent 5500? because of the way the heathen did their timeline. When we know when we do BC, it is decreasing, and when we do AD, it is increasing. I do want to correct that. Okay. So when I add 32 AD to 5468, you would get 5,500 years. Okay. So that's how I was able to get the dates. So now that you have that understanding, now we can go to the next week of Enoch prophecy, which is week 2. In week 2, we learned that the fur take place and Noah and the Most High establish a covenant. And this is a covenant for all of mankind. This is where you have the Holy Spirit and even Paul quote from in the book of Acts and also in the other letters to the other assemblies of the Messiah. Okay. So this is a covenant all mankind should have been following, but we know the history and what happened. So in week 2, the date of that took place, the flood took place in the 2256 year of Adam, which is dated as 3212 BC. 3212 BC. So when we pin this date in Enoch's prophecy, it falls in between 1500 to 2499. When we also look at this date here, 2256 falls in what? Day 3 of Adam and day 8 of YAH. Okay? Makes sense. It does make sense. And when you think about it, the Sabbath is a day of rest. So biblical sense, it would make sense that the Father would have the flood to come on a day that one can work and not on a day of rest. So that makes sense. Okay. And it also makes sense why Enoch was born in the Sabbath day, because now we understand what the number 7 represent. And Enoch represent the number 7, for we know the Father took him because he was so righteous. The Father just took him because he has another assignment for Enoch to do that is revealed in Revelation 11. Okay. So now that we have that understanding, let us go to week 3. Oh, let me read what week 2 say. Sorry about that, y'all. So in week 2, it says that, and after me, so Enoch said, after him, there shall arise in the second week great wickedness. And we know that's true because we know the history of the watchers, the fallen angels, okay? And deceit shall have sprung up, and in it, so in the second week, there shall be the first end. That first end is the flood. That's how the Father cleansed the earth of the wickedness. And in it, a man shall be saved. So the man that was saved was Noah. And after it, after the flood ended, unrighteousness shall grow up. And we know that's true. And a law shall be made for all sinners. So that law that was made for all sinners, you got to go back and read the covenant that the Father established with Noah and his creations. And that's where you get where the Holy Spirit and Paul quotes from. Okay, especially when we're dealing with diet and why the kingdom of heaven is not based on food and drink. However, for those who want to go higher, because there are different levels of holiness, when you study the Father's house, such as the court of the Gentiles, the court of the women, the court of Israel, and the sanctuary and the most holies, then you will learn why Israel cannot partake in those things, because they are his holy people. For those who are awaking and fully understand who they are, we are his holy people. This is why Paul said, do not offend the Gentile. Do not offend the Jew, nor do offend the Gentile. So when you understand the law and you come in the whole volume of the law, for the Messiah is the law, he is Torah, you will have understanding why our Father is winking at our ignorance, and you will have understanding why Paul said that the kingdom of heaven is not based on food or drink. Okay. And then you have understanding why Paul say, do not offend the Jew, nor do not offend the Gentile. Okay. So there was a law made. All right. So now, since we're going to week 3, let's read 3. It says, and after that, in the 3rd week at its close, a man shall be elected as the plant of righteous judgment. So that man that is elected as the plant of righteous judgment is Abraham. It also going to say, and his prosperity shall become the plant of righteousness forevermore. So forevermore is going to be something eternal. So that prosperity is dealing with a kinsman, someone who comes from his lineage. And that's dealing with the promised seed, which is the foretelling of the Messiah. For those who have the 1611, when you read the chapter summary, I think it's Genesis chapter 12, you will come to know that it is talking about the Messiah, the promised seed. And the Father's telling me, let's go ahead and just pull that up now so you can see what I'm talking about and why it's so important to have a copy of the King James 1611. And if not, you can go to this website and it's free for you, brothers and sisters. Um, Yeah. So the chapter summary says that Yahuwah calleth Abram and bless him with a promise of Messiah. And just go with Galatians chapter 3. So we know that promised seed that Enoch is talking about that is promised unto Abraham. It occurs in the 3rd week. And that promised seed, which is Yahusha HaMashiach, he is the plant of righteousness forevermore. This is why when we read John chapter 15, he is described as divine. Also as Isaiah, he's described as, even Paul talking about him being the root of the olive tree. Also, Prophet Isaiah talks about him as being the plant too, or the vine, or the branch. So this is the one who is the plant of righteousness forevermore, because he comes from the Father. The Father made him too. All right. This is why he called him Father. All right. So the righteous one is Yahuwah, and the plant of the righteous, or the one who comes from Yahuwah, or comes in his name, is Yahushua HaMashiach. And Yahushua HaMashiach is what? Forevermore. So he is eternal. All right. So that promised seed is made unto Abraham, letting Abraham, it would come through his lineage. All right. And that was done in the 3rd week. And the date that I had when Abraham was 74, because we know in chapter 12, Abraham began his pilgrimage at 75. The date of Abraham being 74 is in the 3442nd year of Adam. And the Roman date of that is 2027 BC. Okay. And that's when Abram is 74. And when we look at the date of Adam, which is 3442, it falls in between 2500 to 3499. Take this time now to pause your screen to get that understanding. Now we are going to week 4. And also in week 3, we see that this date, when Abraham is 74, the 3442 falls in between. We see in day 4 of Adam, which is day 9 of YAH. So we see how that number falls in between. Again, this is another sign letting me know, this is how I know that the time that Enoch 10 week is based on Enoch, and it comes in between. It comes in the halfway mark. Even by looking at when the Messiah came, he came in the 5,500 years, right? Even when Adam was in paradise, Enoch said he was only in paradise for 5.5 hours before. And he was only in paradise for 5.5 hours in Yah's time. And the reason why he was only in that Garden of Eden for that short period of time, because he sinned and he fell. And this is why we see the number 30 in 930. Telling us a lot. Okay? Because out of 930 to around about, I'm not going to say exactly, around about 230 years, oh, he was righteous. But for the rest of his life, he was in sin. 700 years. Okay. Let us keep going. So now we are going to week 4 of Enoch 10-week prophecy. And if you see any errors, in this document, keep in mind I have not updated this because the Father wants me to announce unto you what is going on so you can prepare your house. That is more important. Okay, so we're now in the 4th week, and it says this. And after that, in the 4th week, at its close, visions of the holiest and righteous, visions of the holy and righteous shall be seen. And we can see that starting with Abraham all the way to Jacob. They start having visions, seeing righteous things. Okay, if you have that 16:11, it will help you to see it so clear. And a law, underline this, and a law for all generation, and an enclosure shall be made for them. So that law is the covenant that he established with Moshe and the children of Israel, and the strangers that came out with them also followed that same law. When you read Torah, you will learn about that. But the enclosure that is said to be made for them, for we learn from Romans 10 that the end of the law is Yahusha HaMashiach. For the law or the covenant will point you to Yahusha HaMashiach. It doesn't say that the law is ended. What it's saying that the law will point you to Yahusha HaMashiach. For those who have a Hebrew Bible, will get the correct interpretation of Romans chapter 10. Okay? So that's what the enclosure is. Yahusha is our enclosure. Yahusha is our covenant. Yahusha is our law. Okay? He's that living word, y'all. So when we go back to the timeline, looking at week 4, I got some dates for you. I got the date when they came out of Egypt. Could we see in the Old Testament as well as the New Testament, we see the 400 years that is given to us by the prophets or by our forefathers, and it's confirmed by the Apostle Paul, who is of the sect of the Pharisees, who had access to the sacred scrolls. This is guaranteed. So the 430 years, this is dealing with the sojourning or the pilgrimage of our forefathers like Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, all the way down to the children of Israel coming out of Egypt. It also includes the sojourning of the children of Israel, that 430 years. And do we see a number common? 30. We see 30 that was in Adam age, and we understand why. Okay. So in the 430 years, Abram is 75 years old. And when the children of Israel come out of Egypt, Moses is 80 years old. So let me say this again. Abram is 75 years old when he began his pilgrimage. So that's the first year of the 430 years. And it ends on the 430 year when Moses is 80 years old. Moses was born in the first day of the 12th month, known as Adar. And that was the day when he faced Pharaoh with Aaron. Okay? So now that I have this information, the biblical date of Abram at 75 years old is 3,443. And when we convert that to the Roman date, it falls in 2026 BC. Now, the 430 year, because they came out at the end of the 430 year, that is in Adam time, right here, I'm at this number, is 3,872. 3,872. And the Roman date is 1597 BC. And Moses is 80 years old. So that completes week 4. And when we look at the date of them coming out of Egypt, and we're going to talk a little bit more about this Roman date in other parts. But when we see them coming out of Egypt at this date, it falls between 3,500 to 4,499. That's 1,000 years. It falls within that 1,000 years. So we see here that 3872 not only falls in that date range for Enoch 10-week prophecy, but we also see it falls within day 4 of Adam and day 9 of YAH. Okay. Now let's go to the next one. We're going to week 5. Week 5. Week 5 says this. Okay, I see week 4. Okay, week 5. And after that, in the 5th week at its close, the house of glory and dominion shall be built forever. Now, this was a tricky one because I was reading so fast and I was only thinking about the temple that Solomon built. But when it say forever, that's when my Father in heaven remind me, remember what the Messiah said, that he will destroy this temple and he will build a new temple in 3 days, talking about us now being the house. For we are the tabernacle, we are the house that house the Spirit of God. No longer shall the Spirit of God be in a house that's built by man's hand, but it's in a house that was created by our Father, which is us. Do y'all see that? This is why it's so important to study the old foundation, because when you understand what those earthly things were representing, then you will understand the spiritual things. So we now has become the house, the tabernacle that house the Spirit of God, and He housed it in our hearts, our bellies. Okay, so when we get back to the timeline, you're going to see why it's so important to know that. So I have the date when Solomon built the temple, and that was in the 4,501st year of Adam. Okay, and when we convert that to the Roman time, we get 968 BC. And we'll talk more about this because I do have some confirmation on how I got this date. Okay, and Josephus would back me up. Notice this too, when we get to the Messiah's date, when we include the 4,501st year to the other part, you're gonna get 1,000 years, and you'll see what I'm talking about when we add 968 BC to 32 AD. Okay. So when we look at this number, the 4,501, that's when the time when Solomon built the temple, which going all the way to the time of the Messiah preaching the gospel, right? Telling them that the kingdom of heaven is at hand, and how we now will become the house of God. How we will become what? Bethel. All right. So when we look at that time, it falls right in between 4,500 to 5499, okay, of Enoch 10-week prophecy. All right. We also see the 4,501 will fall in day 5, right here, of Adam, which is day 10 of YAH. Okay. Again, this is how I know that Enoch times shifted over by a half a mark, and it's representing the time when Adam was in paradise, the Garden of Eden. Okay, makes sense. So now when we get to week 6, and even looking at the events that take place in Enoch 10-week prophecy, will confirm that. So when we look at week 6, it says that after that, so after the 5th week, that in the 6th week, all who live in it shall be blind. He's talking about the children of Israel. That lines up with Romans chapter 11 and also what King David wrote in the book of Songs. Romans chapter 11 and what King David wrote in the book of Songs. And it's going to tell you why they're going to be blinded. And the hearts of all of them shall godlessly forsake wisdom. When you forsake the renewed covenant, what did our Father tell the children of Israel? And that's prophesied by Zechariah. He said he would break the brotherhood, and something else going to take place with them because of them crucifying the Messiah. And they also cursed themselves because they said, put the Messiah blood upon their head and their children's head. So in Zechariah chapter 8, it is prophesied that the curse will soon be coming off of them, off of the children of Israel. Okay. So that's what it means. When they forsake the covenant, they are forsaking wisdom. And because they are forsaking wisdom, because we know the Messiah is the fountain of wisdom, the fountain of living waters, he's the iron, they would be godlessly. And we can see that now. Look at us now in America. We are godlessly now. Okay. And we was blinded. But now we're coming out of that state of blindness, out of that state of slumber. But let us go on to read. So in the sixth week, it also says that, and in it a man shall ascend. So the man that ascends, that goes to heaven, is Yahusha HaMashiach, for he is represented by that matter that ceased on the Aviv 16. The same day we offer the sheepway offering, the body harvest, a remnant, right? So he ascends to the heaven and sit on the right hand of his Father. And this verse also go on to say, and at its close, the house of the million shall be burned with fire, and the whole race of the chosen root shall be dispersed. Now we know the Messiah talked about that. He prophesies that in Luke chapter 21, that the children of Israel shall be dispersed in all nations. And he also prophesies that the house or the temple of God, or the house of God, the physical building, the earthly building, shall be burned with fire. And how we know that's true, we have in the records that in 70 AD, the Romans destroyed the temple. And as the Messiah prophesies to us in the scriptures, not one stone be left unturned. So that's another date that is secured. So when I convert the 70 AD to the biblical timeline, I get 5,538. Okay. So when we look at the date when the Messiah was crucified and resurrected, which was 5,500, it starts in the beginning of Enoch 10-week prophecy. Then 38 years later, the temple is destroyed. So it falls somewhere between 5,500 to 6,499. Okay? Very important to know this. So when we look at these biblical dates, as well as the Roman dates, when we look at the biblical date when the Messiah was crucified and resurrected, we see it falls in day 6, which aligns to when Adam was created. Was not Adam created in day 6 of creation? Do y'all see this? We also see that the 5,500 will fall in day 11 of YAH's time, which is in creation time, it'll be 10,001 to 11,000. So creation date would be 10,500. So it would fall in between here. Okay? Very important. So now that we have understanding about the Messiah date, we will see that the destruction of the temple will shortly fall after that time, which will still be in day 11 of YAH and day 6 of Adam. Okay? So following after that, when we get to week 7, this is the time that we're in now, brothers and sisters. So listen up. This is the time we are in now. Listen up. And after that, in the 7 weeks shall an apostate generation arise, and many shall be its deeds. and all his deeds shall be apostate. This is the wicked generation. This is what the wickedness that would come is at the all-time high. We can see it. Look what's going on now in the heavens and the earth. We have blood moons being shown. We have the sun being darkened. We have earthquakes. We have floodings. We have waters turning to blood. We have nations warring against nations. We have also civil war. We have pestilence. We have famine in some places, but soon it'll be worldwide. We also have tornadoes, hurricanes. We have a lot of stuff going on at its all-time height. And then we also have all the things that's being done in the dark being revealed right before our eyes. Dealing with Hollywood, music, people who want to be famous. Now we understand what the Bible's saying. What does a man gain to lose his soul in order to gain the world? I mean, what are you gaining? Because when you understand what eternity would be for you, you're going to be cast into fire. And then you go into the eternal lake of fire, and that's eternity. If I don't know about you, stop selling out for the breadcrumbs and go for the eternity, because what the Father has for us in the eternity is way better than what we have now. Don't let Satan deceive you. Okay? So this verse also going to say, somehow I don't skip over to, let me bring it down. Okay, this verse also going to say, and at its close, now this is the part you want to learn, at its close shall be elected the elect. So the elect is rising up now, y'all. That's the season we're in now. The elect, righteous of the eternal plan of righteousness. Who's that eternal plan of righteousness? That is Yahusha HaMashiach. So those who are in covenant with him, these are the bride and the 144. There are what? See what's going to happen. The elect is to receive sevenfold instruction concerning all Yahuwah's creation. This is how I know where we're at now, based on the events that take place in this week. Very important. So we see the 7,492nd year. When we convert that to the heathen's year, we are in the year of 2024 AD. Okay. And that time falls in when Enoch's 10-week prophecy from 6,500 to 7,499. Now, y'all, we only got 8 more years when it comes to its close. And we know the anti-Messiah is to reign for 3.5 years. 4 years, right? Y'all, this is why the Father want me to announce this to you. We do not have a lot of time. You need to get your house in order. The gathering of the wheat is to happen at any time, and you need to be ready. We also see this falls in when we look at Adam's time. It falls in day 8, which is day 13. Day 8 of Adam, which is day 13 of YAH. Do y'all see this? Because I'm going to let you read. Well, I'm going to tell you what. I'm going to come back in part 2, and we're going to read week 8, week 9, and week 10. And you're going to see Father's telling you to read week 8, so you know what's coming. This is why he's telling you to get your house in order now, brothers and sisters. This is a warning based on the calculations that we have. Because when we read what happens in week 8, this is what's going to happen in week 8. And this is how I know this has not come to pass yet. It says, and after that there should be another, the 8th week, that of righteousness. So the 8th week is known as the week of righteousness. And a sword shall be given to it, that a righteous judgment may be executed on the oppressor. So these people that have been oppressing us for so long, we now going to conquer them with the sword. And sinners shall be delivered into the hands of the righteous. Do you have that? The sinners now going to be delivered into the hand of the righteous. So this is showing you, along with Yahusha HaMashiach and those who resurrect in the first resurrection, is going to reign with him and get this earth in order. And the sinner's going to be in our hands, saints. I'm talking to the bride in the 144. The sinner's going to be in our hands. And at its close, they shall acquire houses through their righteousness. So we're going to get what? Homes. And a house shall be built for the great king. The great king is Yahusha HaMashiach, because there's a biblical prophecy about this. Okay? And a house shall be built for the great king in the glory forevermore. And all mankind shall look to the path of righteousness. So the house that's going to be built is what? The tabernacle of David. Amos chapter 9 and Acts chapter 15. And as prophesied, he's going to sit on David's throne. For he is his kinsman. Yahusha HaMashiach is his kinsman, is his son. And he's going to sit on the throne, and he's going to have a title of King of Kings and Lord of Lords. And his father going to be above him. This is why I'm telling y'all to read 1 Corinthians chapter 15. For there's a great work that has to be done in the earth before our Father can come with the eternal judgment and with the new Jerusalem. And notice here, it said, all the mankind shall look to the path of righteousness. The prophet I'm thinking about now is the prophet Micah, chapter 4, how everyone's going to come to the Jerusalem, to the Mount Zion, to learn the ways of our Father, to learn what pleases him. Then you begin to understand Ezekiel chapter 40 to 48. So in part 2, we'll come back and finish up the rest of this. But you see, when we get to the 7500 year, that's when we 8 going to begin. And these are the events that's going to take place. So we don't have a lot of time, brothers and sisters. And that 7500 year take place in day 8, which we are in now, of Adam, which is day 13 of Yahuwah. So we don't have long. Take this time now, brothers and sisters, to pause your screen and to look at this. Okay? Take this time now to pause your screen and to look at this. We only got 8 more years left to go in week 7 of Enoch's 10-week prophecy. And I'm telling you, you need to get ready. The gathering is coming soon. We don't know what day and hour, but we do know the season. And we know the summer is nigh of the wheat harvest. Get your house in order. Love you all. Said enough. Make sure that we preach that the kingdom of heaven is at hand, for it's truly at hand. And make sure the people receive salvation as written in Romans chapter 10. If you have no one to baptize you, then you can baptize yourself. For the water, the earth, and the heaven can be a witness on your behalf and tell our Father you have entered into the renewed covenant that our blessed Messiah established for us. And the same is with the Holy Spirit baptism. All you have to do is ask in the name of Yahusha HaMashiach, and our Father will give it unto you according to your heart, your faith, and your works. For it is written, if you ask, it shall be given. If you seek, ye shall find. And if you knock, the door shall be open to you. Love you all, and shalom.